In the heart of a misty valley, where the mountains seemed to guard the village from the outside world, lived Mira, a weaver known for her remarkable skill. She worked in a small cottage filled with the scent of herbs and wool, where sunlight would filter through dusty windows, illuminating the rich, colorful tapestries she'd crafted over the years. Each piece she made was extraordinary, capturing emotions and stories so vividly that people often claimed to feel the soul of the scene emanating from the threads. But Mira had never believed she was anything more than a talented craftswoman. She thought it was the colors and textures of her threads that mesmerized people, nothing more. That was, until a peculiar visitor arrived on a stormy night. The knock on her door startled her out of a half-dream. When she opened it, there stood a traveler draped in a cloak as dark as midnight, with only his eyes visible, gleaming like embers. Behind him was a curious, ancient loom carved from some dark wood, polished so finely it gleamed despite the pouring rain. The man said nothing at first, only gestured toward the loom with an urgency Mira couldn't ignore. What do you want me to do with this?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the storm. In a low, rumbling voice, the man answered, "This is no ordinary loom, Mira. It was forged in a time when magic and the craft of weaving were one. Take it, and your work will gain a life of its own." With that, he turned, his cloak merging with the night as he vanished into the storm, leaving Mira alone with the loom. She brought it inside, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. In the morning light, she examined the loom. It was carved with intricate patterns, unlike any she'd ever seen, each one seemingly alive with hidden meaning. As her fingers traced the curves of the wood, a strange warmth coursed through her hands, filling her with an urge to create. Without fully understanding why, Mira gathered her finest threads and began to weave. She chose shades of deep gold, russet, and black, the colors of the sun setting over wild plains. With each careful stroke of the shuttle, her creation took shape, a grand, noble lion with a mane like fire and eyes that seemed to peer right into her soul. She poured her heart into every detail, from the muscle in its shoulders to the gleam in its gaze, until she felt she had conjured not just a picture, but a spirit. When she tied the final knot, a pulse of energy surged through her hands, and the air around her shimmered with a faint glow. The lion's image rippled, and then, to her astonishment, it moved. Slowly, it stepped out of the tapestry and onto the wooden floor, shaking its mane and stretching its powerful body. Mira staggered back, watching in awe as her creation came to life. The lion, whom she named Amani, looked at her with a gaze that held intelligence and independence, as if he were more than just a creature bound to her will. She realized with a start that while she had woven him into existence, he was no mere servant. He had a soul of his own. Amani roamed around her cottage, dignified and graceful, yet untamed. As word of Myra's enchanted loom spread, people from all corners of the land traveled to see her and request creatures of their own. Some asked for guardians to protect their estates, others for symbols of luck or power. Mira wove with wonder and caution, knowing that each creation carried with it not only her skill, but a life beyond her control. One day, a lord arrived with an offer too tempting to refuse. He wanted Mira to weave a dragon, a mighty beast to watch over his kingdom and instill fear in his enemies. Though wary, Mira agreed, carefully selecting hues of emerald, sapphire, and onyx. Her hands worked tirelessly, shaping scales that glistened with an eerie, lifelike sheen and eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. As she tied the final thread, the dragon unfurled itself, enormous wings beating a gust of wind through her small cottage. But the dragon did not bow to the Lord. It raised its head, eyes burning with fierce pride, and let out a low rumble of defiance before bursting through the window, soaring off toward the mountains. The Lord, furious, accused Mira of treachery, but she pleaded with him to understand. She had woven the dragon into being, but its spirit was beyond her command. More creatures followed, each with its own unique will. A unicorn of purest white, woven for a village healer, vanished into the forest, refusing to be confined. A phoenix, woven for a mourning widow, flew up toward the heavens in a burst of flame, leaving only ash and embers behind. Even Amani, her beloved lion, grew restless, disappearing into the wilds beyond the village. Myra's heart ached, but she knew these beings yearned for freedom as much as she valued her own. The villagers grew fearful. Whispers of monsters lurking in the forests and fields spread, and they began to see Myra's creations not as miracles, but as dangerous, wild spirits. Desperate to control the chaos she had unwittingly unleashed, Myra returned to her loom and began a final tapestry, one to contain all the creatures within a world of their own, a realm where they could live in peace. She wove for days without sleep, pouring every ounce of her spirit into the work. She called it the Enchanted Haven, a sprawling landscape with lush forests, towering mountains, and endless skies. Into this tapestry, she wove each creature she had ever created, from the prideful dragon to the gentle unicorn. She stitched a place for Amani, who took his place at the heart of the realm, his gaze watchful and kind. As she wove the final threads, a soft glow enveloped the tapestry. Myra felt a tremendous surge of relief as she watched each creature, one by one, return to the cloth, their forms captured in a world where they could roam freely without fear or restraint. The dragon, the phoenix, the unicorn, all settled into the landscape, their movements now subtle, caught in woven form but alive in spirit. When the tapestry was complete, Myra hung it in her cottage, where it became a living masterpiece. It drew travelers from far and wide who would swear they saw the lion's tail twitch or the dragon's scales glisten in the light. Yet no one dared touch the loom, and Myra guarded it with a quiet resolve, knowing that she had tasted a power too great to wield lightly. From then on, Myra wove ordinary tapestries, simple scenes of the valleys and fields she loved. She had learned that true magic was not in creation alone, but in respecting the spirit of what she had made. And so, the Enchanted Haven hung as a reminder, a world of myth and mystery woven from her heart, where her creatures lived on in peace, their spirits bound to a beautiful realm they could call their own. Myra would sit by the tapestry each evening, sometimes imagining that Amani's gaze met hers, as if he were thanking her from within his world, a guardian and friend forever safe within the threads of magic.